Welcome to a Legendarium special about the 5 strangest beasts in medieval folklore. Medieval people observed the natural world around them, though they did so with a very different set of eyes. Bestiaries were created during the Middle Ages to catalog the creatures that lived around the world. They included everyday animals like horses and lions, along with more fantastical creatures like dragons and unicorns. Some medieval imaginings are based on real animals, while others are pure fancy. First, the Barnacle Goose supposedly grew from trees that grew over the water, hanging from the branches by their beaks like fruit. When the birds grew mature enough, they supposedly fell from the trees and then floated along the water. Those that fell onto land, however, would die immediately. Once the barnacle geese grew feathers, they would swim away as fully fledged geese. Christians debated how to treat such creatures under their dietary laws. Should they be treated as plants or animals? If plants, they could be eaten on fast days, when the church forbade eating meat. Pope Innocent III settled the matter in 1215 by declaring them birds. A crocodile is a real enough creature in Africa, which few medieval Europeans saw, so they filled in the gaps with their imagination. Some illustrations drew the crocodile as dog-like or even lion-like, with the head upside down. Chroniclers described them as springing up from the Nile River in spontaneous generation. They also believed they had skin so hard that it would not be hurt when struck with stones. Only 2 animals could kill it: the sawfish by slicing open its stomach, and the hydrus could destroy it by crawling into the beast's mouth and killing it from the inside. Supposedly, the crocodile spent day on land and night in the water. Europeans also believed that it could only move the upper part of its jaw, the lower part being permanently still. For some reason, they also believed crocodiles wept tears after eating a man. Curiously, the chroniclers believed that crocodile dung made a person more beautiful. They wrote of Egyptians smearing crocodile dung on their faces and leaving it there until the sweat washed it off. The dragon may be the most iconic medieval fancy ever imagined. However, high medieval chroniclers imagined them as endowed with powerful tails rather than sharp teeth, and thought they lived in India and Ethiopia. Dragons had venom, but that poison caused no harm. It also had a small head and mouth. Most of the time they lived in holes dug into the ground, but when they launched themselves up, they could make the air shine bright. Writers described the dragon as using its lashing tail to cause great harm, and that it killed anything it caught in its coils. Medieval people imagined the elephant to be the dragon's natural enemy. Dragons supposedly hid near paths where elephants walked, so they could catch them with their tail and suffocate them. Writers further believed that because of the threat posed by dragons, elephants only gave birth in the water. Should anyone find themselves in Ethiopia or India, chroniclers noted that dragons would be harmed by the shadow of the paradoxian tree. They also feared panthers, and would hide if they roared or smelled their supposedly sweet panther breath. The rhinoceros of Africa almost certainly inspired this next creature, the Monoceros. Like a unicorn, a 13th century bestiary described the Monoceros as a monster that made deep lowing sounds like a bray. It comprised an extraordinary hodgepodge of traits, with the body of a horse, the feet of an elephant, and the tail of a stag. However, its most distinguishing characteristic is an astonishingly beautiful horn, which sticks out from the middle of its forehead. It had such sharpness that it could easily pierce plate armor with a single blow. Its ferocity burned so hot that though humans killed the Monoceros, no one ever took it captive. In keeping with the medieval belief in natural enemies, scholars believed it to be the natural foe of the elephant. When fighting the elephant, it aimed its horn at the belly of the opponent. Finally, medieval chroniclers believed that the phoenix was a purple or red bird that lived in the Arabian Peninsula. They also believed that only one phoenix lived in the world at any time, and that each one lived for 500 years. When it grew old, the phoenix flew to a frankincense tree and filled its wings with spices. Afterwards, it built a pyre of wood, covered it with the spices, and climbed onto it. From this perch, it faced the sun and supposedly ignited the blaze in the pyre by striking its beak against a stone. The phoenix then fanned the fire with its wings until it is completely consumed by the blaze. Finally, a new phoenix rose from the ashes of the old. Medieval Christians read the story of the phoenix as an allegory of the death and resurrection of Christ, who had the power to lay down his life and to take it back again. That wraps things up for this episode of the Legendarium. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, press like. If you want to see more, press subscribe. And if you've got anything to say, let me know in the comments section. Thanks again for joining me, and I hope that you have a great rest of the day.